Welcome back to the Block Party, Episode 9, Brothers Debate, NBA Edition. We are joined by the one and only King Wells. How's it going, dude?
It's all right.
Been better? I think we obviously know why that is on the table as of this week, and we'll get into that. But I just wanted to say, keeping things positive for the first part of the segment, pretty exciting first week of NBA playoff basketball. A lot of kind of interesting things that I wouldn't have necessarily seen coming, and I'm sure you can say the same. We're going to pretty much dive right into it. We're going to talk about the playoffs. We're going to talk about kind of things we're surprised about, things we kind of foresaw, and then obviously what we think the final outcome will be out of this first round. So without further ado, if you're cool to get into it, I'm good to get into it.
Let's do it, man.
I'm gonna let you pick our first talking point of this segment. So, which series would you like to start with? If you want to start with the Raptors, we can.
Yeah, let's get it out of the way.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Cool. So, obviously, for anyone watching, if you don't know, we are
up 3-0 against the Sixers.
Yeah, we are currently beating the Philadelphia 76ers. No, so that would be obviously a lie. As of now, it's not looking too good for our hometown Toronto Raptors. And to be quite honest with you, man, I didn't see this coming. I really didn't see this coming. I think if you were to have told me maybe last week that we would be sitting at, down 2-1 or up 2-1, I would say that's probably kind of where I could have seen this series, being kind of at this given point. But as of now, sitting down 0-3, sitting down 3-0. I gotta just say it, man. I'm kind of disappointed, and I'm more so just disappointed in last game, because I really think like that was our game to win, and I can't help but feel robbed. There's a few things I want to get into. Obviously, without any further ado, you got to give credit where credit's due to Joel Embiid, who's looking like an absolute MVP, and hit an MVP level shot at the end of the game, like to hit that shot in the corner, catch and shoot. It was a phenomenal shot. Now I have a few talking points I want to get into. Like there's been some stuff circulating online regarding Doc Rivers and the timeout and crossing half court. The other thing I kind of wanted to talk about was just the amount of time before the shot clock actually started. Because I don't know, I'm not really seeing this, but it's just something that I noticed. It seemed like it was a little later than it should have been. Now, I'm probably a little biased, and I'm sure you're a little biased here, but trying to put my bias aside, that's just what my gut feeling is when I watch the play back. Not to take anything away from the 76ers to win Embiid, but that was definitely one of the tougher losses that we've seen in this series. Obviously, the first two games were kind of more in the style of a blowout. It didn't really look like we were putting up much of a fight. Last game, we came out swinging, and, to lose in that fashion is just never fun. So I'm curious on your take on last game, on the series as a whole, what you think of kind of Embiid, the officiating, Nick Nurse and him getting into it, and just give me your synopsis of this series as a whole, what you've seen so far, what we're going to need to do to somehow climb out of this 3-0 deficit, if it's possible.
Yeah, well, I mean, first thing you got to say, and you touched on it, is major props to Joel Embiid. Like major props, we've had discussions about this for the last, basically going back since 2019 when we met them in the playoffs. But this is what it looks like when a player, goes to the next level. He's been doing it all year, and he's doing it now. And you can argue about calls and whatever, but at the end of the day, what we need to realize is the Raptors can only control what they can control, and Philly can only control what they can control, and Philly is doing exactly what they need to do, and the Raptors are coming up short. And the first two games, to me, the first two games are more disappointing than the last one, because I would have liked to. Not necessarily. Stealing one or two in Philly would be great, but I would have liked to, put up more of a fight, just in general. Having said that, I know there are there's a lot of variables going into this, and it's true. It's true. I'm not trying to take anything against the Sixers or taking anything away from the Sixers either. But losing Scotty was huge.
Yeah.
Not having Gary Trent really for the first two games, like although he was there, but he wasn't there.
No, I wasn't there. Fighting illness. He played
that's
in game 2, 10 minutes or something, like very small.
Like that's huge.
Yeah.
But to be quite honest, I mean, like the number one thing is props to Joel Embiid and honestly props to Doc Rivers as well. But the number two thing I think that's really being apparent right now, besides the fact that we've got a young team that has to learn these things and learn it the hard way. We don't have that guy. We don't have our answer there. I think it was kind of clear throughout the season, but I think it's more clear now. And I'm not saying it in a way that it's a huge negative to the Raptors right now. I'm just saying it like it's not really fair to expect, the product of a team that has that guy that can take over in the playoffs, which you need it. That's what you need. We had it when Kawhi was here, and you see how far he took us then. And you look at other series and like in the playoffs right now, and that's the thing. You need that guy for the most part. Some teams do it more across the board, but the teams that are doing it more across the board have collectively more experience than the Raptors do right now. So I'm not. I was pretty in a bad place after Game 1. Same thing after Game 2, and Game 3 was it's just such a gut-wrenching heartbreaker. And you can look at it so many different ways, but at the end of the day, the Raptors did what I thought they were going to do. They came out firing. That crowd was electric. Philly had to work for absolutely everything that they wanted to get, except for really Joel Embiid in the third quarter. But Raptors played really tough. Like the game 3 is what I thought every game would look like.
For sure. And I couldn't agree more. Touching on how they played Embiid in that third game, when you look at the first 2 quarters, it seems like we did a really good job of containing him, double teaming him, making it hard for him to touch the ball, similar to what we're seeing the Celtics do with Kevin Durant. That's kind of what I got in terms of the vibe, how they're playing the defense. Do you think that just as the game goes on and you get gassed and your stamina drains, is that when we start seeing Embiid able to get to his spots, get to his pockets? Is that what's happening here? Is it that we're losing energy because we're playing such aggressive switch everything basketball that we're just not able to keep up? Like just because it's so exhausting to play that way, right? Is that what's causing this? Like to lose our intensity on Embiid, or at least feel like we're not able to smother him all game? It feels like it pans off towards the end. Or is that just simply an MVP superstar at this point, able to kind of find his own?
Yeah, it's both, but it's also, I would throw in something else in there, like it is the Raptors kind of taking their foot off the gas for sure. But like that's part of the playoffs, and that's why when I say we're a young team, we got to learn. That's the kind of shit they got to learn. That you can't do that, and it's also like little mistakes that young players make. Like for example, on that shot by Joel Embiid, there's a million. Like I said, there's a million different things to look at during that shot that are interesting to say the least. But we messed up the coverages. If you look at and I don't want to put it all on this person, and I'm not. But specifically, you look at Gary Trent Jr. He was supposed to switch. If you watch it, he's supposed to switch on Joel Embiid. But he's just kind of covering the same guy that Pascal is covering, and he's in no man's land. So it's little things like that, and it all adds up. And in the season, it's a little harder to see, but in the playoffs, when you play the same team back to back to back, these things add up, and they're a lot more apparent. And I'm not even holding it against them, because, like I said, at the end of the day, it's a learning experience for these guys, and you need to learn how to lose before you learn how to win. That's one of the reasons that I'm so impressed with Joel Embiid, because for him to come back Literally, last time he was here, he was having his heart ripped out.
Right.
And for him to
Right.
come back and play like he has played and hit that shot, obviously,
Hmm.
like that's just, I have nothing but respect. It hurts. I hate it as a Raptors fan, but
As a basketball fan, you have to respect
nothing
that.
but no, just even just
Yeah.
as a human in general,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
not shying away from the moment. It's impressive, man. It's impressive.
Hmm.
And that's it. And that's where for me, that's where the conversation stops. Like, I don't think it's necessary to look into, you know, is Doc Rivers allowed to cross half court to cut? Like, no, it's too much. Like, no, guys, we lost this game. We lost this game. There's no, like, let's not pour salt into our own wounds
Yeah.
and try and nitpick things like that. Plus, it's not a good look,
It's a
when
horrible
fans
look
do that. You know
because
what I mean? So, like,
that
let's just
I had to obviously bring
give
it up
credit
because
where it's due and leave it at
I
that.
had to bring it up because it's a talking point. But I agree with you. Like it seems very petty, and it seems like if that's what we're worried about, if that's what we're concentrating on, if that's why we lost the game because Doc Rivers
Mhm.
called a timeout and he crossed half court, if that's what we're fixated on, we don't deserve to win this series. It's as simple as that. And I think for me, the biggest disappointment out of this series, for me personally, was Scotty's injury. Because I think if you look at what Scotty was doing in Game One, he was on pace to get a triple double, first in Raptors history in the playoffs. I didn't actually know that, but he was on pace to get that. And the intensity that he was bringing, um, being away from home, playing in Philadelphia, and just what I saw out of Game One from him, at this level of confidence, and to get an injury like that, where it's not self-inflicted, but it's like a fluke injury where Embiid just kind of stepped on his ankle. Obviously, it wasn't intentional or anything like that.
Well, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Um, but it's such a gut punch
It
because
is.
even if, like, for instance, if we were to be down 3-0 at this given point of the series, but we could see something developing in Scotty, giving us kind of that hope of like, oh, here's our guy, which every time he's out there playing, we have that feeling. If we could at least lose even in 4 games, a sweep, 5 games, whatever, and go into next season with that, it would just give you kind of a little bit more to digest, a little bit more to sit on, a little bit more to kind of feel comfortable with. But the fact that we got cut short of seeing that, and we were looking forward to it like all year, that's to me what's the most disappointing part of this series.
Well, let me flip it to you another way though. I mean, because I see it a little differently. I put more stock in. Well, for one, he might play tomorrow, right? Which is
That's very
really
good point,
exciting.
which is
And
awesome.
by
Yeah,
the way, they will not. They're not gonna make him play and force him to play. Like, if he's playing, it's because he's ready to play and he's gonna play.
right.
So I'm not really worried about him if he plays. Like, if they give him the okay to play, I think that's great. And you know what? It kind of throws one of those stories into the mix, So
Right.
you have that going for you.
Right.
But let me tell you one thing. Like, for me, the most and this is all going to connect there, but like, for me, the most disappointing part of this series, and I hate to put on one guy, but for me, it's Pascal Siakam,
Yeah. I know.
especially last night or
Yeah.
last game.
Last game.
And,
Where was he, bro?
I
Where
don't
was
want to.
he?
I don't want to put. Well, no field goals in the second half and
Yeah.
overtime.
I
Like,
know.
you can't.
It's bad, man.
You can't, man. And like, Freddie didn't have a great game either.
Mm-mm.
Didn't even
Nope.
really have a good game.
Nope.
But like, we've had this conversation before. One thing I love about Freddie is he'll still take the shots that he needs to take, even if he's missing them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you don't even take them and you just literally disappear,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, that's tough. That's tough. But here's what I wanted to get back to is a huge bright spot is, look, OG Anunoby's been our best player in this series,
OG's looked great.
and it is remarkable. So, and I'm not saying he wouldn't have done that if Scotty didn't get hurt, but what I would say is, don't focus so much on Scotty getting hurt and what could have happened there. Focus on what we're seeing right now from OG Anunoby, and
And
that's really hopeful for the future.
and I also want to give a shout out. The person I would also throw into that is Precious Achua.
Well, especially after last game, yeah.
Yeah, because like I think this opened up a lot more time for him to kind of shine, especially on offense, right? But I agree with you.
And
Like,
defense, his defense on Joel Embiid is pretty impressive considering the size difference.
for the size difference, it actually is very impressive. Yes, and so like if we look at these stats here, I got it in front of me. You got Embiid leading the way with 27.7, 13 rebounds a game in this series for Philly. OG is currently leading us at 24, which is unbelievable. And I love what I've seen from OG, the assertiveness.
I want to see more. I say give him Pascal shots. That if Pascal wants to fade away.
And you know what? It's kind of funny to say, but even the last shot OG took at the I'm pretty sure the buzzer sounded at it when it counted, but it hit rim. Like, it was close. He's like, call me crazy here, but in the clutch moments, the big shots, he's hit big shots in the playoffs before. Game winner. He's hit a game winner or two, maybe even two. But the one I'm thinking of specifically was the one in the bubble where there was like 0.8 on the clock, very reminiscent of the amount of time that Embiid got the shot off it. But do you remember the shot he hit in the corner in the bubble? OG hit that shot. Of
course, yeah.
So we know he doesn't fear the big shot at the big moment. And I think, in some respects, I think this is a kind of a little bit of a head nod to OG. And to give credit where credit's due, he's looked really, really good, especially with Scotty going out. Part of me kind of feels like, it gives me a Toy Story vibe. And that's the analogy I'm going to use here. OG is kind of like the Woody, or maybe, and then you got Scotty Barnes coming in as the Buzz Lightyear, and all the other toys are excited, this brand new toy. And then OG kind of, gives me that feeling of like, hey, don't forget about me. Like, a few years ago, I was the guy you're all hyping. But now there's a new shiny kind of thing coming into play, right? So, and I don't want to compare OG or Scotty and Siakam. I think they all provide in their own way, kind of differently. And I think if you obviously had to put a ceiling on Scotty, his would be kind of the highest, just given his age and what we're seeing out of his first year.
I would think so.
I don't think that OG is necessarily done growing as a player or getting better. I think the one thing that he's really got to work on is initiating plays for other people, playmaking. But I think even that side of his game is a little bit underrated in some respects. He's become a really reliable catch and shoot 3-point shooter. He's turned himself essentially from a defender into a 3-and-D player who can go and get you a bucket near the rim if he wants to, if he's assertive. And I think that
he can create his own offense. Yeah,
and I think that next step of his game is essentially going to be getting people involved, making the right pass, because he's actually kind of an underrated passer, in my opinion. So I think the positive we take out of this series, right, it's OG. It's what we're seeing development from, guys like Precious. I've actually been pretty impressed with what I saw from Boucher last game, for the most part. But
all series.
I think, Boucher. And I agreed. Actually, I shouldn't just kind of sum it up into one game. I've really liked what I've seen from Boucher all series. Agreed. And I wanted them to get him more minutes, and I think that's obviously the bright side of this opening up the floor for these guys. But man, I'm with you. Like, my criticisms have to come at the two leaders of this team, man. Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet.
Which is where it should always go.
And I don't want to put it just on Siakam, but as someone who watched a lot of Raptors this year, and I watched a lot of Raptors every year, but specifically watched a ton of Raptors this year, just because I was so excited about Scotty and what I was seeing from Siakam, and Fred just going crazy early on, All-Star nods, Gary Trent. There were so many exciting storylines in Toronto, and we were counted out early on. It was such a fun year to watch Raptors basketball, right? Seeing what Siakam did last game and what he's done all series, I know he's better than this, and we all know he's better than this, and same with Fred, right? But that's what's frustrating is you get these glimpses of Siakam playing like an absolute all-star, superstar level player, and like near the end of the year, we're all saying Siakam's earning that contract, he's earning that money, but you just can't disappear in the playoffs like this. And I'm with you, man. Like, it has to come down to at least go take the shots, because these looks that he's taking, like these little fluky, it's just not going to cut it. Like, near the basket,
well, he's not going to the rim. Nobody's going to the rim, and it's not just him.
And he's looking for calls that aren't there. Like, he's expecting to get calls that are these little tic tac fouls that just like outside of the paint. He's doing his classic little turnaround spin move, and he's going up expecting to get a call, and he's dude, no. You got to take the game over like you were doing all year. Get your shot, go to the mid-range and cook. It hasn't been his best year from three by any means. His 3-point percentage is actually down this season. But
I don't want him shooting threes.
But I want
him to go to the rim.
Exactly. That's not what we need. We need him to initiate, drive, stay aggressive, hit the mid-range jumper like we know he can. He's a great mid-range shooter. When he can pull up and get his shot, I'm cool with him taking the mid-range. I think Gary Trent showed a lot of really good sparks last game. I agree with you on the switch and rotation. I know he hasn't been healthy, right? So that's been hard to gauge. But I think last game, we saw a couple big shots from Gary.
It was by far his best game of the series.
For sure.
No question about that.
And it's just unfortunate, the timing of, getting sick. You can't control that. You can't control if you're getting a flu. And if you feel crappy, man. Like, we have to separate ourselves from these guys and respect. Gary Trent wants to be out there playing. Like, I think it was game 2. He played 10 minutes. Nurse benches him. They show a shot of him on the bench, and he's weeping. He's in tears because he just knows, like, this is ass. Like, this is the feeling I get watching this. Is like, this is ass, bro. Like, I want to be out there playing. Like, why the fuck am I sick right now? You know what I mean? And we've all had those kind of moments in life where it's like, why right now? Like, oh, perfect timing. Like,
Well, I don't think anybody's holding that against him.
No, I don't think so either. But it's like, you add that with the Scotty injury, and you add, who was it, Kem Burke or Thad Young getting injured in game 1 as well, and then you add Siakam and Van Vliet not showing up, and it's like, dude, there's absolutely no way with all these things, and like, there's bright spots. OG's been a bright spot, right? Precious has been a bright spot. Boucher's been a bit of a bright spot, but we can't expect to win this series playing like this or having, sometimes it's a matter of things lining up, and it just feels like, if we look at, let's compare Philadelphia, right? Like, I wouldn't say by any stretch or by any means that James Harden's had a good series.
I wouldn't say he's had a bad series.
I wouldn't say he's had a bad series, but like, when you think of this series, it's been Joel Embiid and probably Tyrese Maxey that I think of, right?
Yeah,
those are the two guys.
I'm with you, but part of the reason, though, especially for Maxey, is because the first 2 games we were double teaming really hard on Harden.
Yeah, so
and that's why Maxey was always so open and everything, So that's a really big part of it.
For sure.
Maxey for sure deserves some props, though. He's really looking like a third guy.
Yeah, he is, right?
Like, and like, I know impressed. Everybody always liked Maxey, even coming out of the draft. People thought he went a little lower than he should, but yeah, no, he's good, man. Like, I haven't seen him a lot in all year, so maybe I'm way behind on this, but yeah, Maxey's for real. I like his game.
I think he's for real too. I mean, they had Seth Curry at the first half of the season, so I think when they traded Seth, it really allowed them to just give him that role he was deserving of. But he played a lot of heavy minutes because there's just no Ben Simmons, obviously, right? Like, he was kind of, I think, slotted in there a lot of the time, but I think his development this year, it's the speed. It's the first step, like that quick first step. It's like
looks like John Wall back in the day.
Yeah, you see it and you're like, wow, we don't have anyone that fast. Like, no one's keeping up with that guy. Like, he's ridiculously fast.
Although I would like to see Delano Banton get a chance.
Okay, so that it's funny you say that. This is one of my points that I wanted to segue into, touching on the series. And I'm kind of glad we started with this because there's a lot to go off, so it's good we get this out of the way. But this is one of the rotation change. Well, this is one of the pieces in the rotation that I'm surprised we're not utilizing. Because if you look, we've cleared out some minutes for Malachi. He played pretty heavy minutes last 2 games, I think, and he fouled out of the last game, if I'm not mistaken. But man, let's go midway through the season when Delano Banton is absolutely going crazy, running that point guard role off the bench, using his size, getting these looks up, playing in the NBA G League on off nights and dropping like 30, 40 points, coming back and playing the next night in the NBA. Man, why aren't we utilizing this guy? Don't you think that would be kind of a nice little counter weapon to Tyrese Maxey, or am I crazy? Because this is
you're not crazy, but the thing is, what we don't see is, for all we know, Delano hasn't shown Nick Nurse enough that he doesn't trust him, that he's not going to get cooked. And that's valid, man. He's a rookie. Like, Scotty Barnes is such an outlier. You know what I mean? That I think that's the main thing to keep into. Like, I would have tried Delano before I tried Malachi Flynn. But even putting Malachi Flynn in the game, like, he hasn't seen much action. So it's like,
sure.
I think he went with one or the other, and he went with his sophomore instead of his rookie. Which is like a bit of an old school thing to do, but I trust Nick with that. I would like to just a glimpse, let's see, give him some time, even if he gets cooked. It's the playoffs, let him get that experience.
And at this point, battling injuries, like, it feels like the size would be a nice little thing to have, like, just because he's so tall. And
it would be, but I the other thing too is that I don't think I think Malachi is a lot better, is a lot more reliable shooter than Delano is.
Sure.
And considering the amount of zone they're playing, especially last game.
You know what? That's a good point. What do you think? And that's another really good point, actually. That Philly zone, it seems like we're really struggling with it, and it seems like
Well, we've been struggling against zone all year.
That's the
all
thing.
Year.
That's a great point. It's like this isn't just something that falls into this series. Like if you go look at how the Raptors have played against the zone, I'm with you. It's been bad all season. It's been bad. So
Yeah.
what do we need to do? Like when you're watching this game,
Get the ball to the middle. Get the ball in the middle of the zone and attack, and then pass it out. Like that's 101. Everybody, that's the same thing from 7th grade through college.
Is Joel Embiid is that making, like, obviously it's making it hard, but like that is a pretty intimidating force down low. That's pretty strong body, right? Like, do you think it's just a matter of like when you bang down low with Embiid, it's like that takes a tear on your body, and it's like it's not intimidating, but it's like
Embiid is the number one reason Pascal Siakam is not going inside, whether he'll admit it or not. And like I'm not saying that like what a pussy. I'm saying that like it's kind of understandable. I still want him to attack anyways. But name a guy, maybe Rudy Gobert was somebody I'd rather see less than Embiid, but shit, man.
Even then, it's like,
what are you gonna do? And Freddie VanVleet, I can't hate on him for not going inside. What the hell is he gonna do?
Yeah, I think he tried a few times and Embiid just like swatted the shit out of him.
There's no chance. Yeah. One thing I want to mention for Philly too is Tobias Harris has really impressed me on defense.
Yeah, he's played well. Played
to
very
the point where I didn't think he could do some, and it's not that he's being like exceptional on defense, but he's holding his own. And Pascal Siakam throughout the season, if whenever Tobias was on him, wasn't a good look for Philly, but he's held his own in this series, and he's part of the reason Pascal is quiet.
He moves his feet quicker than you'd expect.
And he's strong. I think he's stronger than Pascal.
Yeah, he's definitely stronger than Pascal. You can see it. And even, you know what, if you shift it to offense, Tobias has finished a lot of really hard contests at the rim this series. Like he's gotten to the rim, like probably not a ton, but like when he goes to the rim, he gets fouled a lot of the time, and it's not called, and he'll finish it. And just asserting that
time it's Fred VanVleet on him.
Yeah. So I mean, okay, give me your take on how this series ends, how this finishes up. Like, you think the Raptors win a couple games here? You think they can win the series?
Hey man, I'll listen. I can't tell you how many times as a Raptors fan I've been in the position where we've had our guts, our hearts ripped out in the worst and most embarrassing possible ways. Like, we've been here before.
Right.
You know what I mean? What I don't want to get swept, obviously. So what I want Saturday is I want them to come out and just balls to the wall. You know what I mean? All out, all game. Make them feel you. If you're going to get swept, well, you're not going quietly. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I want. That's what I want. I do think we're going to win Saturday. I maybe it's more hope, and part of me wishes I didn't say that because I don't like jinxing it. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to go quietly. That's the one thing. I don't want it to be a joke. I don't want Shaq to be right.
I know. You know what? That's what's killing me. That's what's killing me. That's what's killing me, bro. If Shaq, because like how the amount, like I saw stuff on the news about Toronto fans just being like, "Oh, we're mad at Shaq," and you know what? We're gonna look so effing dumb if that pans out, and he was like, "I told you guys," like, and he's just gonna ride that high horse.
I think he looks dumb too because he did rescind it
for sure. But I think that came more out of respect, and like he I think that came out of a place of like, I'm not calling your team bad. Like, I know the Raptors aren't bad. I think he meant it more of like, we're young and we're like the 76ers are now, and we're a young developing team. Like, I don't think he meant anything disrespectful by it. But I mean, this is my thing. Okay, so Saturday, if we get Scotty back,
that'll be a re-energizer too.
I think that's what we need is we need Scotty back in the lineup. We need some kind of, a glimpse
he's
of
gonna have a big game if he plays.
Yeah, for sure. And it's an early game. It's a 2 p.m. game. I
don't know if I like or dislike that. I don't know. I think I probably like it.
I like it. I don't know why I like it. I think I just like it because I get to watch it sooner. but
are we the first game? We must be the first game.
I'm pretty sure we start off on Saturday.
Yeah.
So
all right, let's do it.
It'll be exciting. It'll be interesting. We got to come out swinging. Hey man, crazier things have happened. Teams have come back from 3-1. LeBron in the finals. He's done it.
Well, listen, the other thing is, that Philly, like, I don't believe that Philly, like, I know that they're playing with all the confidence and stuff, but I don't believe that like, if we win Saturday, I know that from Philly to their fans, they won't show it, but they're gonna have that little in their stomach.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because as soon as, and the other thing is, the one thing that it gives me confidence going into this game, like truly, it is that the Raptors have played, like, not just this season, but especially this season, they've played at their best with their backs against the wall.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, down 20 points, down 15 points in the third or fourth quarter, and they just won't go away. They've done that all year. Part of that is being a young team that just doesn't quit. Mm-hmm. But hey, our backs are against the wall now, so let's go, man. Like, what else can you say? There's nothing else. If we get the worst thing for me that could happen is we get blown out.
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
That'd be sad. That would be tough to recover from. But even then, if that did happen, from the start, we weren't supposed to be here. This was supposed to be a development year.
Right.
So I'm still happy going into the off season, but I don't want to get swept. I don't want to get blown out on my home floor, and I want them to feel us one way or another. So,
and we'll touch on, obviously, post-series or post whatever happens here, what we think the Raptors' kind of development plan will look like going into the offseason. I think we'll save that for another time, because right now let's focus on
that's a good idea. Let's save that.
But we can obviously get into that in later weeks, because that'll be an interesting talking point. I have a lot of kind of ideas on where I think they'll go, who they would look to move, things like that.
We'll do an off-season special.
We'll save that for post playoffs. Let's stick to what we have right now, what we're seeing right now. Cool. We can come back to the Raptors maybe.
I think we
covered
everything about that.
Covered most of it, and I think now I want to turn my attention to another 3-0 series. So we're looking at this playoff picture. We have another 3-0 series. We're going to jump to the West now. We're going to go to Golden State Denver, who is essentially the other kind of blowout series that we're seeing. Mm-hmm. You got to give credit where credit's due to Jordan Poole, who is actually leading the team in points a game, 28.7 points per game, looking absolutely unbelievable. Paired, with Steph Curry and just that dynamic in Golden State, and Jordan Poole's development coming so soon. How confident are you in them making a push here?
Super confident.
Yeah, because
super confident. They were one of my favorites going into this. Yeah, and they have just like, I was like out here with them, and now I'm here.
Right.
There's no for me. Like, I was trying to think, like, this feels like the deepest they've ever had going into the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, deepest, even if you look at the deepest, Kevin Durant, maybe not the years that they won with Kevin Durant, but even then, you know what I mean? Like, as far as going into the bench and having reliable options there. I don't remember them looking like this since they had, Livingston and Iguodala coming off the bench.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I think depth-wise, I think this is one of the deeper teams that we've seen with them, because you got to account for guys like Wiggins and Iguodala being back on the team, and Jordan Poole now being this entity for them. But obviously,
Porter Jr., Bielitsa, Jr., perfect fits, man.
Bielitsa.
We're not even talking about Kuminga and Moody. Which I know they're not really gonna. It's playoffs, so they probably won't make a big impact. But
they can insert Kuminga at any time and be pretty confident, because they've played him pretty much all year. I don't know about Moody.
And Wiseman is just a no-show. But
Wiseman's a no-show, but he's developing probably, and that's still in the works for them. And I don't think
Golden State's in a good place, man.
For sure. And I think obviously, what we got to get back to, when you say deepest team, we're not saying this team is better than the team with Kevin Durant by any means.
No, I'm saying deeper.
Deeper, though, I think we can agree on, like, in terms of full team depth bench. I agree with you. I'm there with you. Because, like, obviously you got to look at the Kevin Durant years, right? And it took a lot to get that team assembled. It took a lot of caps, so they had to sacrifice. And it was a lot of, vet mins and things like that, where this team has a little bit more depth.
And they had a lot of injuries. Like, I'm taking that into consideration too.
Yeah.
Like, even when Cousins came over,
Sure. It was post Achilles tear, right?
That's what I'm saying. But everybody's healthy right now, knock on wood.
Yeah. And Jordan Poole is looking like an elite weapon. Like
He's looking like an all-star.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to see. And you know he's kind of been more of a difference maker than like a Klay Thompson in the series or Wiggins. You know, and what's his ceiling? Because obviously, you know, just taking into account like what is it, second year in the NBA?
I think it's his third.
I think it's his second actually.
Yeah.
I think it might be his second. Yeah, only. Yeah, I think last year was his rookie season, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure last year.
I think you're mistaken.
Am I mistaken? Was it Zion's year?
Well, I just remember when he was drafted, he was in the building, sitting, but not in like the green room. He like got up from the stands with the fans.
Hmm.
And I don't think that would have happened last year because it was pandemic.
28th pick, 2019 draft. So yeah, you're right. That was Zion's year, right?
Yeah, but still.
But yeah, no, like insane. The development wise, like looking really, really good. And looking probably ahead of schedule. But here's my thing. Does Jordan Poole need to keep this up, or is this a matter of if Jordan Poole doesn't bring this kind of heat next series, Wiggins could bring this heat, or Klay Thompson could bring this heat? Like to me, it seems like they're covered in so many different aspects, and they have so many guys that they can kind of fall back to.
Yeah.
That no matter Steph's gonna do Steph, right? Steph's gonna be Steph. Like we've seen it. It's guy comes back from injury, doesn't miss a beat. I'm fucking back. You know, more like you never fucking left, to be quite honest.
And I think he will get back to the starting lineup next series.
Oh yeah, I think that's kind of just a strategic thing by Kerr. I don't think it even. I mean, even when Steph's not starting, Steph's energy just being with that team and like that confidence, they ride his confidence. You know, they move at the pace of Steph.
He's the straw that stirs the drink.
How much, in your eyes, like I want to just talk about Steph Curry here because he's a phenom, but like, have you gained, if you look at even just the last 2 seasons of the Warriors or 3 seasons, has Steph Curry climbed up your totem pole here in terms of all-time greats, or has he garnered any kind of additional respect for you? Like obviously breaking the 3-point record, we all kind of saw it coming, but like just in terms of like that he really just hasn't lost a beat and continues to look like he gets better at this age, like has he climbed up your totem pole at all in terms of rankings or how you see him in all-time greats? I'm curious.
I mean, yeah, like he's up there for me. I don't want to say anything negative, but like for me, he's the same player that he was to me, but it's just that everything he's doing, man, you can't help but to like. It's true, he changed the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And just for that reason only. Yeah, only a handful of players can say that in NBA history.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and for that reason only, that he absolutely has to be mentioned there. He's clearly the best shooter of all time.
Not even close.
It's not close. It's not close, and you don't even see, like I don't see any young guys that
only guy you can really maybe contend, but I don't even put it same ballpark would be like a Trae Young maybe.
Yeah, I know. I thought you'd say that, but.
It's not close though. Like
I don't
even
know.
then, like,
I don't know. Yeah, it's.
I don't have it same category.
Like for me, the second best shooter of all time is Klay Thompson for me.
Yeah, there you go. And
but I mean, maybe you could. That's arguable. I'll give you that.
Yeah, probably arguable. But I mean, because like you could also say like, are we talking 3-point shooting? We're talking every type of shot. Because like Kevin Durant, mid range, like, is that like you got to obviously take things into consideration. But I'm with you. Steph Curry, without a doubt, number one. It's not close. And he's like still getting better, which is weird. But yeah, man, like we don't really have to touch on it too much. I just wanted to kind of come to the other 3-0 series as the segue. Warriors look good. They're finishing this in 4 or 5, probably.
I think it's going to be a sweep. I mean,
you don't think Jokic takes a game from them? I could see Jokic winning a game.
Well, it's almost like, I mean, you could parallel this totally with the Raptors, but like I feel like if it was going to happen, it would have happened last game.
Fair, yeah. So I
feel for the Nuggets, man.
Yeah. I mean,
we're in a very similar boat.
Yeah, I mean, with them though, it's like,
but they have their guy, right?
And they have their All-Star MVP, right? We don't have that yet, so it's
no.
In all fairness, like what we're doing is a little bit more ambitious, I guess you could say.
A little bit, but we're also not facing the same level of team.
Sure.
Like I think that's true as well.
True. Okay, let's move to another team in the West that's really caught me off guard, surprised me, and I gotta give major props because I did not see this one coming. But the Dallas Mavericks, man, they are up 2-1 right now versus the Utah Jazz, and that is without no question a result of Jalen Brunson, who is averaging 32 points a game this series with
Incredible.
5.3 rebounds and 5 assists, looking like an all-star level player when he's given his time to shine here. But
and it's a contract year for this guy. He's going to get paid this offseason.
Oh, yeah. And then you got Dinwiddie, who's playing really, really well. How impressed are you with the Dallas Mavericks to overcome losing Luka like that? And from what I'm hearing, are on the verge of maybe getting Luka back Game 4.
Oh yeah, he'll be back.
How much? I mean, okay, if you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, you have to be feeling obviously very good that you're ahead in this series when most people counted you out from the get-go. And then not only that, getting Luka Doncic back with this team. And the momentum, like if they can use this now as a momentum boost.
That's what we said, right? Like it could be a blessing in disguise because while Luka's away, all these guys learn how to play together, learn their roles, and fits in magically. Then all you're doing is throwing Luka back in the mix, and there's another 30, 10, and 10 that you don't even need to think about.
Right. So that will obviously take looks away from Brunson. So how much of that is going to need to be an adjustment when they add Luka back here? And is Brunson good? Like, are they going to need to separate those two now and let Brunson have the ball in his hands more off the bench? Like, what's the game plan when you slide Luka back in there?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a mix. I think having a guy being able to, like a scorer of that caliber, I'm assuming coming off the bench, like he could finish the games, but I think he'll probably start off the bench. But it's amazing. Everybody needs that in the playoffs. Everybody needs that.
Right. And
it's just another way that makes me feel good about the Mavericks.
What's happening on the Utah end of the spectrum?
That's what I was gonna say. Because to me, I think I would even go as far as to say I'm more surprised about what's happening with Utah than what's happening with Dallas.
Right.
Because Utah has been kind of at the top, at least season-wise, kind of at the top of the mountain for the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, had very, very strong seasons
in the West.
Very last year especially.
I mean, I'm really starting to question the chemistry between Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. I'm starting to wonder if we don't see a Rudy Gobert trade this offseason.
Well, I mean, if I think we can all say if this falls apart here in round 1, something's going to happen with Utah.
It certainly feels like it. Feels like it.
And I don't think it would be Donovan Mitchell. I really don't. 32 a game, 5.7 assists, only getting better, super young. That's the guy you're going to keep and build around, right? But yeah, Gobert seems like the likely piece that would be traded. Maybe try to get more of a, maybe they swing Conley out. I'm not really sure what his contract's looking like.
Well, I think it's close to 30.
Is he a 1 year next year though? Could they
next year? I think he'll have just 1 year left.
So that might be a tradable piece. Maybe they'll have to look for another guard to pair with Donovan. Maybe they try to go guard heavy. Maybe they get away.
Maybe they call
the
Lakers and see if maybe they can get Russell Westbrook.
Hey, there you go. There's an idea. Maybe we like. Do you think we see a Quinn Snyder departure after something like this? Could that be more likely?
It's definitely more likely than I would have said it is at the start of the season, or at the start of the playoffs even.
Because we probably won't be getting to this team, I wanted to just quickly throw in, this one surprised me, but James Borrego was released.
Yeah, I was a little surprised about that too.
That one caught me off guard because I know they missed the play-in, but I just think that was a big mistake, man. Like I don't really know what they're thinking with that.
It depends who they hire. Because this could be, and listen, because the reason I'm saying that is like this could be the Mark Jackson to Steve Kerr, the Dwayne Casey to Nick Nurse. You know what I mean? It could be that. It feels a little early to be that.
It feels early.
But it could be that.
It feels early, man.
The thing that's weird about that I think is a little weird is that we don't know who that guy is and why do it right now. But maybe they're like, well, we just get it done sooner than later, which I guess is probably good.
Weird to me for a couple of reasons. Like, would you say Borrego's underachieved these last few seasons? To me, he took this Hornets team and put them on the map. He was the one who developed. I would
say that, but I would also say LaMelo Ball had a huge part of that.
I think if we're looking at what Borrego did to open up LaMelo's game and confident, like put him into the starting lineup early on, start him, play him heavy minutes, give him the reins, like. Borrego has been nothing but supportive of LaMelo and LaMelo's journey, and like I think I've watched a pretty good amount of Charlotte basketball. I think he's made some pretty good moves as a coach. Like his decisions to me, his decision making seems pretty reasonable. And I don't know. To me, it seemed like him and LaMelo had good chemistry. The team seemed to like genuinely click with him. It felt rushed. It felt too soon. It just doesn't feel like. If anything, for me, the time to do this would have been next season if they underachieve, don't make the playoffs. Then I could see them pulling the plug. But it just felt too early, man. It felt too early. But we've seen that before. Dwayne Casey wins Coach of the Year and gets fired. We've seen things like that happen where, a team wants to go a different direction. I just was really shocked because to me it felt like they got their coach in Borrego and they were happy with that. And it felt like he was growing with the team. So to sweep the legs out under it, I don't know, man. I don't feel good about it. I really don't feel good about it. And it surprised me when I read it. I was actually genuinely wow, okay, that's surprising. But I know we won't get to them because they're not in their playoff tree here. So I just wanted to touch on that quick, see your thoughts. Like something to worth keeping an eye out for is Charlotte and their coaching and how that looks moving forward. Okay, let's stay in the West. Let's go to last night's game. Memphis versus Minnesota. Minnesota looking really, really good coming out. Cat's already getting scorned for we're in Minnesota now. Not sure if you've seen any of the memes, but Memphis with an incredible comeback. Absolutely going crazy second half of the game and just absolutely disturbing the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now up 2-1 in this series. To me, it feels like last night's game was the turning point, and to me, it feels like Minnesota really couldn't afford to let that one slide. I don't know how you feel about it, but that's the gut feel. Like I thought if they were to win that game last night, they would have just had this kind of momentum and would have been able to kind of, disappoint Memphis, and they would have had what it takes. Now I'm like, ooh, I don't know how I feel about this. Memphis up 2-1, losing like that, I just don't see it happening for the Timberwolves. D-Load played really well last night. Cats looked good. Edwards, obviously, coming up party, but you just got to give credit to Jaw, Jaren Jackson, Desmond Bane.
Across the board.
The depth of that team, all the way down to D'Anthony Melton, Xavier Tillman, these kind of pieces that are just playing their roles.
Don't forget the Canadian Brooks or the Canadian Clark.
Dylan Brooks, Brandon Clark. The depth is just pouring off the charts with this team, and we've seen it all season. Their record without John Morant was absolutely incredible. I think they've got their mojo back, especially after last night.
They're a very good team.
I don't think I see them losing this series, especially after last night. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but would you be in agreement with me there? I don't think you saw them losing the series either way. I don't think a lot of people necessarily did. I just was really excited and impressed by the Wolves and their play-in and this kind of energy.
What you called is you were calling kind of the energy and momentum kind of carrying over,
right?
Which it definitely did, and I think that's what Game 1 was all about,
right?
And I think that's what the start of last game was all about too.
Pat Bev looking really, really good.
I mean, like
bringing the heat.
The thing with the Timberwolves is they're very young, and I know that the Grizzlies aren't especially old.
Yeah, they're pretty young too.
Either, you know what I mean? But it's the Grizzlies to me. Well, first of all, they're the higher seed, and that's not for no reason. They've been consistent all year, and a big sign of that is how good they are without John Morant. But at the end of the day, I mean, they're just. I think I'm not holding this against Minnesota. I think Minnesota was a little was outmatched, to be honest. And I'm not talking like this is completely 100% done. But at the end of the day, I'm not totally surprised. I think Memphis is really good, and on top of them being really good, John Morant is becoming that guy.
Yeah,
where
all year he's been becoming that guy.
Absolutely. So, but it's like you get to the point where so you're getting blown out at the start of the game. It takes the whole team to come back, not just one guy. But once you come back, having that guy to keep his, especially on offense, to keep his foot or pedal to the metal or whatever, and just keep running it down their throats. That's a team, man. That's a real team there. They're impressive.
I think the craziest thing when I look at these numbers, so I just pull up playoff tree, click the team, click the series. It's got to be Jaw's counting stats here. this series he's averaging 7.7 rebounds, 9.3 assists. Like his game is so much more than just being a scorer or more than just. And it seems like he makes first of all, getting into the paint and scoring inside is what he's best at.
You know what he reminds me going inside, like Derrick Rose
Yeah.
in his prime
Oh,
is probably the perfect example.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
watching these playoffs, man, I'm seeing Allen Iverson.
Crazy.
I'm
Yeah,
telling you, the way he's
doubt it.
attacking and the speed and the way he can change the speed and
Yep, stop on a dime.
dude,
And for me, Josh shooting, like you see, he's not a bad shooter. Like I don't think I would say like he can hit big threes, deep threes when the moment's right. He'll hit
when
the
the
shot.
moment's right, yeah.
The rebounding is great. The assist per game, the IQ is great. The killer instinct is there. And
He's like the perfect poster boy for the way the team plays.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? Like
Definitely.
it's just so perfect.
He is with
The way Tony Allen was like the grind father or whatever. You know?
No, I feel you. And I think like last night's comeback was a huge part of like I think for me it's too much to big time statement. I just think it's too much to overcome maybe.
Yeah, I feel for Minnie. You know, I feel for them. But they got to do the same thing. Like they still have another game in Minnesota.
Yep.
And at least one other game in Minnesota. And yeah, I don't want this to come across that I'm like completely counting them out either. I wouldn't be shocked if Minnesota wins the next game, but I think it's, you know, this is why it's a series and it's not just one game. And Memphis is like just slowly wrapping their hands around their neck, you know, which is what they should be doing. If you ask me.
Let's move to the last series in the West, then we'll move to the other three in the East. Okay, so let's go to this one in the West because this one's interesting.
Let's do it.
Phoenix, New Orleans, tied 1-1
now. This is all of a sudden very interesting.
Devin Booker goes down with a hamstring injury, said to at least miss the next 2 games. New Orleans looking scary and looking like they're not going to go away without putting out a fight here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Phoenix has what it takes to overcome this Devin Booker injury?
Yes.
And post that question, what does the series go to now with this injury and with how good New Orleans is playing, with how good Ingram and CJ, you know, they've been doing their thing. JV, they're not nothing. Well, what does the series go to you? Could you see this going 6 games?
I think it might go to 6.
6 for Phoenix is what you'd say?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too.
I think I still think Phoenix I would be pretty surprised if Phoenix lost this series. I think that would be even without Devin Booker, I think that would be
an upset.
Borderline shocking. And I'm not trying to take anything else from away from New Orleans. But yeah, I'll give the Pelicans another game.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, another game or two.
Have they played? They haven't played at home yet. Pelicans, right?
I don't think so. It's 1-1, and
so
I think
I could see one of those going, especially because New Orleans fans too. They must be pretty hyped right now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Have they ever seen? When's the last time they saw a playoff? Have the Pelicans ever? Oh yeah, they have.
Anthony Davis, I think Rondo.
But that wasn't a pretty showing.
No, it wasn't. Now let's just get to this quickly. There's been some rumors and reports that Zion is ready to go, and the Pelicans are holding him out.
I'm glad you asked me that because you know what? I think my opinion is changing on this.
Okay, what's your thoughts on this?
Before I was thinking like, oh, no, he's not going to play. He's not going to play. Whatever. But now it's like turning into, you know, like MJ hurting his foot, wanting to play, and the team saying no. Like I'm getting the impression that it's more like that.
Yeah.
And I don't like that, man. Let him play. Honestly, let him play. I'm all like they weren't even supposed to be in this position. Now Devin Booker's hurt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Go for the kill, man.
Yeah,
go for
unleash it. Unleash him, bro.
How much fun would that be? Like if there's any risk with Zion,
yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I don't want to take a risk. I'm not saying that, but if they're just like overcompensating, you know what I mean, by saying, oh, might as well just wait till next year. I'm not with that, man. I'm not with that. Zion's young.
Yeah, like what are you waiting for? Like look what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Look what we're seeing from Ja already. That's the first thing. Second thing is you're tied with the best team in the NBA, Phoenix, 1-1. They just lost their best player. And your superstar that you drafted number 1 overall is ready to come back being asserted into the lineup, and you're holding him out to be safe. What are you waiting for?
Yeah, I don't like that.
What are you waiting for, New Orleans? What are you waiting for next season when you might not even be in this position? Like, go for it now. I'm 100% with you. Like, I think it's I think they're it's like one of those things where you're being overly cautious as a parent, and you're suffocating your child, and you're just like, oh, we can't let you go out, but you're hurting your kid. You're not letting your kid fly, bro. Let the kid fly. Let the kid show us. Let him take over the series. And imagine how much of a statement that would be if you unleash Zion right now and he comes and beats the Phoenix Suns in round 1. What does that say to all those haters? And what does that say to all those doubters and all those guys riding Ja Morant's high horse right now, and say, oh, I always knew Ja was. No, you didn't. You liked Zion, and everyone, shut up. Let's see what Zion can do. If he's ready, he's ready. If he wants to play, let him play. If he gets injured, he's young. He's still got time. Look at Embiid battling injuries first few years. Like, these things happen, man. I'm with you, man. Unleash him now. The time is right now. If he's good to go, let him play. That's my opinion.
I'm with you.
Okay, so that's going to be one we're probably going to come back to in the next few days here. See how that pans out next week. We'll have to see. That's pretty much our West segment covered. Now, we're hitting an hour soon, so I want to get to the East. Let's talk about the other 1-1 series here. Big shout-outs to our boy, DeMar DeRozan. Taking over that game 2, being clutch as ever, showing us
breaking Milwaukee's heart again,
showing us those glimpses in the season of why he was in the MVP conversation. We knew he probably wouldn't win it, but being in that conversation and winning that second game, big statement. So happy for DeMar. I don't think this really changes much in terms of how I see the series playing out, but I do want to just give a shout out to DeMar. And you know what, man? Like, as much as I count Chicago out, no Lonzo Ball here, they're not fully healthy. Still a good team. Still a team that can go out and get a win like this. Maybe
they're
two.
A good team.
And I've been pretty impressed, and that was a fun game and a fun moment to see DeMar have that kind of playoff shine. I would love to see him carry this out and win this series. Obviously, I don't think it's going to happen, but
well, Chris Middleton being out certainly.
Yeah, that's. Oh, you know what? Good
nudges
point.
The needle a little bit.
Good point, and that's said to be the next 2 or 3 games, right? I think maybe
at least. I think they said like 2 or 3 weeks, didn't they?
There you go. So I mean, injuries can be a determining factor, man. They can change a lot of things. So yeah, who knows? Maybe now Giannis and Drew and the team, Milwaukee as a team is still a pretty big handful. But what would you say this series goes to after seeing what you saw from Chicago? You think 6 games, 5 games still, or what's your prediction?
I think 5 games.
5.
Sorry,
right.
DeMar.
No, that's fair. That's hey, man, that's your prediction. We'll see. We'll have to see how it goes, man. Maybe I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago won.
They got to go back to Chicago.
That's the thing, right?
Right.
So I'm thinking Chicago can win another one here. That's what I'm thinking. But
what I'm banking on is Giannis is going to go MVP mode, God mode again.
I think that's what.
Like, I'm talking 50 points.
Doesn't it seem like when Giannis loses a game like this, he just gets kind of okay. Like he thinks to himself like, okay, just try to stop me next game.
Yeah, especially that it was on him, the last bucket there.
Mm-hmm. It's personal, and we know what happens when Giannis takes things personally.
It'll be good. But I expect the Bucks to win. But I think it's going to be impressive. It's going to the crowd is going to make that, and like that next game. It's game 3, right? The next one.
Game 3, yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Let's go to the other series on top of the East, the 1 and 8 seed, Miami Atlanta. Miami up 2-0. Are you surprised with anything you've seen so far? They've looked really good. Obviously, Jimmy Butler looked like the
Jimmy G buckets, baby,
looking like Bubble Butler. If anyone remembers Bubble Butler, yeah, I mean, is this over in 5 for Miami? Like, with the way they're playing and the way it's going, it looks like it could be. Or do we get a little glimpse of some Trae Young action here? Maybe put up a little fight here in the next few games. We know Trae Young doesn't like to go out without swinging.
I think they're going to put up a fight, but Miami matches up very well with the Hawks. So I'm not very surprised about how it's gone so far. Yeah. I wouldn't be like, it's just so easy to just sit on the fence and be like, yeah, give them a game, but I wouldn't be shocked if they just sweep them.
Yeah. I'm kind of in that same boat. Now, I think Atlanta can pull out a win or 2, but I think Miami's got this from what I'm seeing, and I wasn't huge on Miami. I knew they were going to be a playoff team. You add Lowry to that team, they were going to be a playoff team, but I think the electricity that I've seen just like out the gate, I'm like, okay, they're ready to go. Now let's move to probably the most interesting series so far, one of the more exciting series, with the Boston Celtics leading the Brooklyn Nets 2-0,
Crazy.
which I wouldn't have predicted.
Me neither.
I could have said maybe a 1-1 split, 2-0. I'm a little shook here. Obviously, that game one came down to the last play. Kyrie played phenomenal.
Well, game 2 wasn't a blowout either.
No, it wasn't. It was close. But I think game one was a little bit closer. Tatum hitting that spin move, incredible move, near the bucket. I think game 2, you got to give credit to Tatum, obviously, but Jaylen Brown looked unbelievable in game 2.
The whole team, man. The way they're guarding everybody, the way they're just suffocating them on defense.
Durant is really
shout out
struggling.
Marcus Smart, Defensive Player of the Year,
He
so
won.
well deserved.
Yeah, he got one, and I think it's well deserved as well. How do you think game 3 here we see the Kevin Durant show? Because I don't think
I think the Kevin Durant show is coming. I think there's a tidal wave on the horizon.
Yeah.
And I think the more people are starting to, amazingly, but also not so amazingly, the more people are starting to count him out.
Yeah, don't count Kevin Durant out.
I think it's going to come back to haunt him. Like, I think the important thing to keep in mind with this series so far is that I really do believe both those games could have gone either way.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
I know 2-0 is
Agreed.
on paper, but I think it could be 2-0 Brooklyn, and I think it could be 1-1.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think this series is over by any means. This has Game 7 written all over it.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
It's going to be interesting that Game 7's in Boston, though.
Yep.
Because the home team rarely loses in the Game 7s. But I'm still going with the Nets, man. I'm not. I'm not shaking.
Yeah, I'm not counting out Brooklyn. I think counting out Kevin Durant, or let's just put it this way: Kevin Durant shooting this way for the first 2 games, a bit of an anomaly. I don't see this.
Yeah.
I don't see this continuing, even into next game. Because it's yes, Boston has played him well and they've suffocated him on defense.
You sure have.
He's also missed some shots he usually hits.
You sure have.
So, yeah, I don't see it continuing. I mean, I love what I'm seeing from Boston. I think they're well equipped to beat Brooklyn. I think they have what it takes, So yeah. I don't want to count them out or anything like that. And
they might get Time Lord back.
Yeah, there you go. Which is a big piece for them.
That's a scary, scary thing, man.
Because that allows them to play that kind of trap, suffocate everything style. Right? And like that little kind of, that's the same way the Raptors have been playing all year, where you have Scotty kind of running to the, like to the on-ball defender, making those intuition plays. Like they can add that back in here to even get their defense even more scary, more trap-based, more. It's scary, but I'm in the boat of like, the Kevin Durant show is coming, and whether we like it or not, we've counted this guy. Like, when have we not seen him turn up in the playoffs? When have we not seen him show up? So it's I think it's a matter of time before he starts. I wouldn't be surprised next game. Game 3 in Brooklyn, Kevin Durant comes out and drops a 50-piece. It wouldn't surprise me. So
me neither.
I
think these games are just going to get better and better.
Yeah, and the other thing I could see happening here, don't hate me, Celtics fans. This might be
Celtics fans.
This might be bold. This might be bold. I could see Brooklyn winning 4 straight.
Yeah.
And taking it in 6. I know it's like
Game 6 will be in Brooklyn too.
That's what I'm saying. If you look at all, the series isn't by any means over, and I love what I see from Boston. And who knows? Maybe Boston comes out and wins next game. I think if Boston wins Game 3 here,
holy shit,
that's interesting, because at that point, all the pressure goes to Brooklyn, right? All the pressure falls on Brooklyn. And then I could see Celtics maybe winning in Game 6 or something. So that will determine how I see this panning out. But as of right now, I also wouldn't be shook if Brooklyn just comes in here and wins 4 straight, and it's like, oh my God, all that for nothing. Kevin Durant looks like the MVP, and we're talking about him, in the highest regard, and then they're ready to go play. I guess it would be Milwaukee next, or Chicago next. So, yeah, that's kind of how I'm thinking this could pan out. But, I mean, hey, man, if Boston wins Game 3, I think my opinion changes pretty drastically, and I just from your reaction here, I think you're in the same boat as me, right? Like, I think
that would be, oh my God, that would shake me.
Yeah, same. I don't see it happening, but I mean, if they can pull it off,
Well, they've done it 2 games in a row.
the Tides,
They're
right?
gonna have to do it in Brooklyn now,
The Tides,
and that's a different animal.
yeah, for sure. And the Tides would turn. Now, it's worth mentioning, not next game, but game 4.
I know what you're gonna fucking say.
Wojbomb reported yesterday.
Here he comes.
Benjamin Simmons is reported to be ready to go for game 4. What's your thoughts on this?
I don't give a shit.
Could this? I know you've been pretty critical of Ben all year. I think we all have been.
You're right though. It's an important thing. I do think
nothing.
he can help them.
It's not nothing, right?
Even if he's not scoring for them and stuff, he can make a big difference on the team.
Everything else. He can do.
It's going to be interesting,
right?
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and he's the kind of guy where I don't think he even needs to go in there and score for them. I think he's the kind of guy who can go in there. And if he can,
hopefully that's not what they want from him because
I don't think so. But I think if he can go in there and just say, "I got Tatum," that's
set hard screens, move the ball.
Yep, make the right pass. He can run the floor with Kevin and Kyrie. That's scary. That's scary. I'm just saying
it's kind of the perfect situation for him. Let's be honest.
It is the perfect situation. Having guys that he can dish out to like that. Drive the penetrate, and then you're concentrating. You're so fixated on he's gonna dish to Kevin, he's gonna dish to Kyrie, and then he'll just slice you right down the middle and jam on you. He's 6'11" with insane speed, insane strength, insane vertical, crazy intuition. He can finish at the rim when he wants to. Let's be real. Let's be real. Like he's pretty dominant force near the bucket. It's gonna be interesting, man. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see what happens with Ben Simmons. We've been kind of awaiting it all year. We didn't get any glimpses during the season. Obviously, that Philly trade happened. We've seen the James Harden situation come to fruition. We've seen what that's looked like, but we haven't seen the Brooklyn end of things. We haven't seen obviously, we've seen Seth Curry, who's been a good piece for them. Underrated piece.
Such a good piece.
Andre Drummond, who's been a really good piece for them, right? We've seen that come into light, but we haven't seen the main meat and potatoes of that trade. It's gonna be interesting. I think Game 4 is the target return date. I think though, like I said, if Brooklyn wins Game 3 and they get Ben back for Game 4, I could also just see them go 4 in a row here. That's kind of my bold take on this series. But I hope Boston proves me wrong. I hope Boston comes out and wins Game 3 and then makes it like, okay, now it's all the pressure on Brooklyn, all the pressure on Ben, all the pressure on KD and Kyrie, and I think that would just be interesting. And I think the Celtics deserve. To not be counted out. They've played so well. They've won.
Yeah, agreed.
Both those games, deservedly so. Their defense has been awesome. Tatum has looked like a superstar. Brown looked like a superstar last game. How could you not be excited about your future in Boston? And it's funny, like, you think back a couple years ago, we got all these talks of breaking up Brown and Tatum and all that. Like, it's just like, what a shame that would have been, I think, because they clearly can play together well. And it's a really, really good kind of 1-2 punch on the wing. Yeah, man, that's most of it. That's pretty much all the series. Is there any series we didn't get touched on like in depth that you wanted to go into? Is there any predictions you have? Is there anything you're looking forward to? Is there anything you see coming to the light here in the next few days? I wanted to get into obviously our injury side with Phoenix, New Orleans, Middleton on Milwaukee. I don't think I missed any other big injuries. Scotty coming back game 4, for Toronto, possibly. Luka maybe slotting in there for game 4 as well. I don't think Denver's going to get any of their guys back in MPJ or Jamal Murray. I think we covered most of it. Is there anything that we're missing on you wanted to touch on before we wrap?
No, I think we're good, man. I'm just getting ready for tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I'll be ready either way. Got to let it be, see what happens.
Yep.
But I just want some fire, man. I want honestly, I don't want to get swept, but if we do get swept, just make sure they fucking feel you. You know what I mean? That's all I want. And I think we can do that.
I'm with you, bro. Okay, cool. So we'll come back next Friday. We'll have a lot more to talk about. Who knows? Maybe a few surprises. Maybe the Raptors are still in it. Maybe a few upsets. But we will continue this next Friday. Go. And man, let's go Raptors. Let's see if we can avoid the sweep, avoid anything. Let's see what we can do here, man. I've seen crazier things happen. So let's just stay optimistic. And the big positive out of all this is the playoffs have been so fun to watch as a whole. So good. And it's only going to get better. And really, my feeling now is, before we wrap, I really don't know who's taking it all this year. Like I still am like, wow, I could see this going so many. Like you just see one injury to Devin Booker can change a whole narrative of the series or your whole outlook on things. Like it really is just a matter of like so many things could happen, so many possibilities, so many different variables that come into play, injuries, guys coming back from injury, guys stepping up, like so many different things, so many storylines.
Mm-hmm.
And this NBA playoffs has been so much fun to watch, so incredible just for fans, just so good for the game as a whole. Like the NBA just continues to get better every single year, in my opinion. And this is exactly the reason why, right? So yeah, man,
Agreed.
we'll continue to talk about this next week. We'll probably have a few more games under the belt, and that's the Block Party, episode 9. Peace.